In this day and age of constant remakes, sequels, more remakes, and even more sequels, there really isn't room for originality. All anyone wants to do nowadays is play it safe with the same concept over and over again. Since the creation of the MCU and the realization that pre-existing IPs sell far more than new original ideas, originality as a whole has all but fallen to the wayside. However, I'd argue there is one genre that is almost resistant to this trend: horror movies. Most horror movies are insanely unique, with the majority of them being original ideas and the minority of them being sequels or franchises. The originality of the horror genre knows no bounds. Want to make a movie about someone smiling at you and constantly play those goddamn ads everywhere? You could do it if it's a horror movie. Want to make a movie about an STD demon? You can do it if it's a horror movie. Want to make a pop-up storybook monster movie? Well, you can do it if it's a horror movie. See my point? The horror genre isn't constantly giving us our upteenth old guy action movie or cookie-cutter superhero flicks. In the past decade, there has been consistently more and more original horror movies than really any other mainstream genre. One of my favorite aspects about the horror genre is the plethora of subgenres it contains. And of those subgenres, cosmic horror is without a doubt my absolute favorite. And there isn't a more well-known cosmic horror property than Alien. Alien is one of those movies that only comes along once in a blue moon. It came out at the right time, told the right story, and had the right cast. The setting was unique, the visuals were unique, the characters were unique, and pretty much everything about the movie was unique. While some modern audiences may look at Alien and think it to be tropey or simply not scary, you need to remember that there had never been anything like Alien before Alien. Cosmic horror was simply a thing only found in books. Body horror wasn't really a known and common thing due to Eraserhead having only been released the year prior. And to top it all off, this is probably the first horror movie where the black guy doesn't die first. Everything about this 1979 film is great, and I firmly believe it is a fantastic stepping stone for the cosmic horror genre as a whole, and the perfect film to introduce audiences to the concept of cosmic horror. So let's begin by talking about the actual genre of cosmic horror. Cosmic horror, Lovecraftian horror, or just weird fiction is a subgenre of horror popularized by the totally not controversial early 20th century author H.P. Lovecraft. Cosmic horror generally explores the unknowable and incomprehensible. It looks at the vastness of the universe and really plays up the insignificance of human beings. We think we're on top, the apex predators of the universe, but in actuality, we are merely grains of sand in an incomprehensibly large sandbox. A lot of cosmic horror deals with normal everyday humans encountering something so far from what we consider understandable that it often brings them to insanity. And that loss of one's sanity is also a major staple of the genre, as we humans try to make sense of something that is literally impossible to make sense of. It's equivalent to trying to imagine what the fourth dimension looks like. We as three-dimensional beings are incapable of doing that. We could try, but our minds just can't comprehend what a fourth dimension would actually be like. Now apply that concept to a force or a creature, then boom, you have cosmic horror. The plot of Alien follows the crew of the Nostromo as they are en route to Earth, having just finished a deep space mining operation. They receive a strange distress call from an unknown planet and go to investigate. Landing on the planet, they find a strange ship with a giant fossilized dead alien and a bunch of wet eggs. An egg opens up and something latches onto one of the crew's face, and a few hours later, a monster bursts out of his chest. The survivors then learn that it was all intentional because the Weyland-Yutani Corporation deemed their crew's lives expendable in order to capture this perfect organism. All but one of the crew dies as Ripley manages to blast the creature off into space before drifting off into the unknown. By the end of the movie, it's never explained where the alien came from, what the space jockey was doing with all those eggs, and what Weyland-Yutani wanted to do with the xenomorph. Like any good cosmic horror, we have multiple unanswered questions and just an overall feeling of hopelessness. Here humanity is in 2122, deep space mining, building androids and replicants, because yes, Blade Runner and Alien are in the same universe, and feeling like they own the universe. With all our hubris, we are quick to forget that the universe is old. Like really, really old. And despite all we claim to know, in truth, we know frightening little. All good cosmic horror has this simple structure. Normal people encounter something unknowable and unimaginable, and in the end, we aren't left with some triumphant victory. It's more of a melancholic unease equivalent to that of a tragedy. Alien is that to a T. After the xenomorph is dealt with and Ripley finally lays down in her hypersleep chamber, we have next to no answers. All we know is Ripley survived against all odds, and that's it. No explanation of anything, really. There isn't a scene where the xenomorph hops down and monologues about how its people are going to take over the galaxy in the name of its queen. No, the xenomorph is a rabid animal with one directive: kill. The Nostromo's crew are nothing more than space truckers put up against the literal personification of death. Another thing that's really cool about the movie is the fact that if someone watched Alien without any knowledge of who any of the actors are, you'd have no idea who the protagonist is. When the hypersleep chamber opens, Kane is the first person to sit up. When they're eating, we don't focus on anyone in particular. We leave the table with Dallas, and after 10 plus minutes, we kind of notice Ripley sitting off in the corner. If you had no idea who Sigourney Weaver was, you'd assume Dallas was the closest thing to a main character. And that is such a great aspect about this movie that every subsequent Alien film has failed to recapture. Bear in mind, when this movie was released, Sigourney Weaver wasn't that big of a star. Yeah, she was slightly known, but nowhere near as famous as she is today. And that was what makes Alien's cosmic horror aspect so appealing. It feels like anyone can die at any moment, and guess what? That's exactly what happens. Sadly, future films in the Alien franchise really forgot that the beauty of cosmic horror lies in the unknown. In the most recent installments, Prometheus and Alien Covenant, they both seek to answer questions no one asked. In doing so, it lessens the impact of the concept of the unknown. The fact that we don't know where the xenomorphs came from makes it a better film. The fact that we don't know what the space jockey is makes it a better film. The fact that the characters of Alien act like real people and not clueless idiots make it a better film. While Alien may not be as thought-provoking or complex as other cosmic horror properties, I still feel like it is the perfect film to introduce audiences to the genre. Good cosmic horror leaves you wanting answers to questions. Great cosmic horror leaves you questioning your existence. And fantastic cosmic horror leaves you wanting